Okay, the next is the Town of Prosperity, the well rehab and water tank construction. Mayor Derek Underwood.
Thank you, Chairman Walker, and committee members. Prosperity's really benefited from this 1 cent solution the last 2 times that we've done this, and it's always encouraging to see the good turnout and all the good projects. And it's just not really who can sell it the best, but which actually is going to impact the area and the county and the citizens living within Prosperity. My first, or in the county, my first presentation will be about the well rehab and the water tank construction. I've kind of looked through all our bullet points that we had with our utility director and our town folks, and just kind of threw these into 3 buckets: volume, standards and quality, and the third bucket being sustainability. Anytime you do a project when it comes to water or sewage or electrical or anything like that, you need to have some type of buckets that's going to be able to benefit wise. And since it's a water, putting it in the buckets made sense. But the first one is volume. Help the need to grow of our growing community. Our community continues to grow, residential, commercial, and our need for an increased volume in the water supply to the town is actually also increasing. Help improve our water supply to our fire hydrants. Currently falls short of the minimum flow requirements on some of our fire hydrants, so that becomes not only a volume issue but also a potential safety concern. Our wells have been a great supply of water in the past. We used to have 8 wells in Prosperity. That's kind of, a lot of people don't realize that. I didn't realize that until I became on town council, that a lot of municipalities, a lot of counties rely on well water as opposed to getting it from the Newberry County Water and Sewer or another source. But we actually had 8 wells that were located in town. Now we're down to 2. So they've been a great producer of quality water, but over the years it hadn't been enough water, and we've had issues that we've had to shut down several wells. The town desperately also needs storage tank. Currently we have our water main that comes in through Newberry County Water and Sewer. We also have a neighboring tank that's owned by Newberry County Water and Sewer. The town used to have one based on some old pictures we saw back behind the square, and we would be able to store water just in case there was an emergency or in case the supply went there. We would be able to pump water out of our own wells and store it here internally as opposed to relying on an outside source. This storage tank now will allow us to manage our daily demand and help our maintenance programs such as flushing. Anytime you do work on something, you have to flush it, so when the health department comes in, you know, it meets the certain cleanliness and quality requirements. So that volume that's needed to do that flushing will be greatly enhanced through a addition of a water tank. Currently, we own all the tracts of land for this project, even some additional adjacent to the properties is allowed for future expansion, so that's not a question about the property that's surrounding this project, whether or not we would have to acquire or get right of ways. The town's in complete ownership. So that was our volume needs. Now for standards and quality. Some of these go hand in hand, so I might be redundant, but I apologize. But meet the need for ever-changing DHEC standards. The health department comes up with new water quality standards routinely through law changes, through regulation changes, or through new EPA mandates that come down the pipe. So in order to stay ahead of these standards and maintain a quality water supply, this project is essential for the town of Prosperity. The well rehab also allows us to drill deeper into the median Blue Ridge aquifer, and that gets much needed volume that we so desperately need. Right now, our wells aren't deep enough to hit that aquifer that's there for the taking. So another thing that's kind of neat to look at is actually that we're sitting on a vast amount of water. We just have to have the means to tap it. Bruce Campbell with the United States Geological Survey, he's been working on the federal project survey for us. So we've got a lot of good data, a lot of good stuff for the well project, and plenty of good using numbers that we can use to enhance this project if we're fortunate enough to get it. This project will also include an updated water treatment process that will better manage how we keep our drinking water safe and also the quality that we expect. This helps us not just meet the minimum standards that we have for our water system, but also look at current trends and what the population demands for the safety and cleanliness of their water supply. One thing that anytime you do something infrastructure-wise, you got to think about security. You know, we think about, you know, is your water supply secure? Is that a target that somebody might be able to handle? This project will not only benefit the volume that will be coming in, also the standards and quality, but will also put an extra layer of security in because we'll have more control over the sources of water coming into the town. Is my microphone okay?
Yeah,
okay. All right, good. I'm a little bit taller than Travis. I can't say that from the field. So the town has, again, I mentioned 8 wells during the course of its existence. During that time, you know, we've been trading with a lot of neighborhood utilities. We've also closed down a lot of wells that were unsafe, that were, a better term, dried up and didn't reach the demands that we needed. The town has invested into engineering over the past couple of years to help this process and work through some difficult and trying moments trying to get our projects with our water system. So in essence, we've invested a lot of money to kind of predicate this move towards this system. So a lot of the things that we were able to save in our estimates we brought forward, we'd already done the legwork. Sustainability was the next bucket. It's a big part of this plan. It's our goal to be able to keep providing the people of Newberry County. With all this, we will have some redundancy in our water system, which is huge. I mentioned about apologizing for being redundant, but in a water system it's real huge because if you shut off an area of town to do work, you got to make sure that you have available water to other areas or other residents. And in the past, we've had it where you shut down a section of town to do work. We have people without water. One notably would be the school. We get a phone calls a lot of times because if you had a water main break or had some issues that required us to shut down the water, the school didn't have water. When the school didn't have water, they can't function. You have to let people go early or whatnot. So that was one of our concerns, to have some redundancy. So it's not just one main pipe coming in. We'll have a bunch of different feeds coming in. And again, a big thing too, this will allow us to supply Newberry County water and sewer too, not just being a customer, but actually being a provider. And should a disaster hit near the town or anywhere in the county, and Newberry County Water and Sewer would request water, we would have water that the town would generate to be able to supply that need. So currently, we can't produce enough water even to meet our own needs, but by doing this project, we'd have enough to meet our own needs and possibly sell or possibly be able to give water to our neighboring groups, such as Newberry County Water and Sewer, who also supplies the state. That all being said, the 1 cent solution, the total for this project is $3,330,000. You talked about being able to cut it back or whatnot. Every time we propose something, we've always done it in phases. So if the money wasn't available for 3.3 million, it might be available for 2 million or 1.5. So the things in our project, we've done those in 3 different phases for all the projects that we're presenting to the committee to let them know that we feel that the number is solid now for the whole project. Anything that we can do to be frugal and have cost savings, of course, we're going to put that in, but we're having to rely on the engineering numbers to provide us with a reasonable number and that we'll be able to do to satisfy all the needs of the project. So I answered your question. I'm open for any questions, yes, sir.
I probably missed this, but what do you have access to county water?
Correct.
But you don't. 100% of your water comes from your wells on a normal basis.
No, sir. No, sir. We used to have. Is it 60% is what we purchase? 60% of the water is what we purchase.
And the other from the well.
Other 40% comes from the well.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So 60-40. But if we have times when we have to shut down the well, and the amount of water we can generate there to meet demand is it's only so much we can pull out of them without the flow going down. So 60-40 is usually the number we look at.
That's the way it is now.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I assume that the water comes from wells, takes care of a certain area, and the water from the city, another area, it doesn't mix. I mean, you don't come in.
I'm not sure if we mix it. We don't have a storage tank
How does that work?
to keep the water now. So that's a infrastructure question that's a little bit tricky for me.
It all goes into the water main.
So the county water goes down the well water. Yeah, okay.
And that would make sense because the reason we're trying to ask for a storage facility so we can actually store water in there in case Newberry County Water and Sewer, or in case the demand goes up, we'll have available water there
Right.
for something like that.
So the 60-40 mix runs together, but comes from 2 different sources.
Yeah, we're metered. Our water that comes into town is actually metered in the main, and we actually pay them based on the gallons that we use per month. And that was recently repaired. That water main, it had a little small, the check valve, and it went down and didn't go all the way, so some of the water.
You mean they weren't shortchanging you?
No, it wasn't. It was all the way around a little bit, I think. I think we were getting a lot more water than was actually showing up on the meter, so they corrected that, and now that's why we can accurately tell you the amount of water we get from them, because the new meter cost a fortune, but it showed a gap in the water they thought they were sending us and the water we were using. So 60-40 is a pretty firm number.
Question for you.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned this, and Mr. Spot says known to ask, can you reduce it? You mentioned in your presentation, all three phases
Right,
of this proposal,
right.
you can reduce, or is it at its bottom now?
No, three, for the entire project, for turnkey, is at that price. But it's say if we were able just to do the well rehab, and the water tank storage was something that was not gonna be able to be funded, we can live with that. If the rehabs of the wells were there, but we said, well, that's a little bit too expensive, but we can get you a storage tank. That's what I mean. We have different elements of the project that we can sectionalize and just do certain portions.
Which leads to my question now, what is the most important of the three parts if you were to alleviate something?
The most expensive one.
They don't have to come in order, because, I mean, one's first, second, third, they don't have to go.
They don't have to.
in
It's
order.
ideally to come in that order, Renee. Mr. Warner, sorry, professional mistake. But they don't necessarily have to. It would
Okay,
be
so one doesn't hinge on the other.
Right, it does not, but it would be advantageous for us to use the progression that we submitted, because, you know, if we don't have the wells redone, why would we need a storage tank to store county water? We can do it, but, you know, just in case we need demand, but we'd like to be able to produce our own water. And with water prices and things like that, and the quality standards that EPA and the health department are shooting up, it's good. Anytime you have a municipality or a county, when you're autonomous over all the elements within the town, it provides more accountability to the people that you serve.
And I hear you say it would be more important to you or to the town, you and the town, if you had your own wells.
Yes. That would be our first priority.
First, that's the
Yeah,
first
because the
part.
storage tank would be it would be needed, because it's a whole, you know, we present it as a whole package, but we understand that if Prosperity gets the fund, then at the end you have X amount of money and it doesn't fund this, but it would fund 3/4 of it. We are very much willing to you know, talk about that and see where we can move things around. So we're very open to not only just the phases, but actually moving things around too to make this occur.
With the three phases that you have, did you assess a figure per phase?
Yes.
We did, and it's in
Yes,
the
in that,
package.
it's in your book.
Now, closing and closing the Langford well,
Mhm.
and then the rehabilitation of the Park well.
Mhm.
Which is more important, rehabilitating the Park well or digging the new ones? What would you benefit more from?
Oh, wow. I mean, I keep looking at
I
Karen for
think
that, and
the
that's,
more that we can produce, the less we have to purchase, and that will help our citizens more with the cost, the rising cost of Newberry County water and sewer. So if we could dig a new well, we recently, the ones that helped us close down the lagoon over on Forest Hills. We've got 4 acres of property that is right on top of the main vein, there, the water vein. If we can dig a new well there, we already own that property. That would produce more water for our system, and we wouldn't be purchasing as much. And then the storage could be added on later. So I think the new well and the rehab should go hand in hand.
right, and the
And
new
the
well,
storage could wait.
right, and the new well, I mean, we'd love for it all to be in one package, but we understand, you know, you only have a certain amount in your wallet. But the new wells would actually be able to tap that deeper supply of water, the rehabilitation, you know, that's something that it could possibly happen, but new wells would be something that we would try to prioritize as opposed to trying to rehabilitate.
The bottom line is you would be willing to break this top figure and break it into phases. And all the indications I've got from questions from the commissioners have been, you know, different parts of it.
Yes, sir, we will be able to break this project into different phases
And the most important, once again, is the wells itself.
yes, sir.
And the 4 acres that Ms. Livingston responded to, am I correct?
That's correct.
That's right.
That you own it, sitting on top of the main thing. Okay.
Okay, we're ready to
And
roll.
that's your second,
Right, rehabbing the wells would probably be our priority. We always like to maintain what we have.
So that'd be
That would
first
be
priority.
one. The new well would be 2, and then the
Okay.
storage would be.
So you got an order.
You'd have to have 1 and 2 then to make this a complete function.
Right, right. Yeah, that's when you mentioned about anything, but rehabilitating the well and then the new well, it's not like if you do rehabilitate the new well, we have to dig. If you rehabilitate the existing well first, or you could do the new one, but the storage tank would be something that would be third, whatever. It would be something that was not as critical as the other two.
So, in essence, in common sense talk, then, 2 out of the 3 then,
Okay.
what you would require to get back to punching your own well or digging your own well and then providing your own water. It'd take two of the 3 phases of the
That's
project.
correct.
That's correct.
Commission members understand that?
think so.
Anything else, Mr. Mayor?
I'm good, sir. Anybody else have any questions?
Commission members, anything?
Thank you.